Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use.
Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, LLC. Richard Flentge is the former co-host of EVTV, a worldwide webcast and private renewable energy research facility. As a journalist reporting the rise of the electric vehicle, Tesla, and solar technology, he has covered the introduction of new vehicles, Tesla battery technology, and solar innovations. On the research side, Richard managed an off-grid solar array and battery research focused on the innovation of devices and repurposing of used electric vehicle batteries. Richard has experience in solar battery banks for off-grid, computer power backups, solar homes, and custom electric vehicles. He is here to tell us more about the step forward in technology that will power our future lives. Welcome, Richard.
Yes, good to be here.
Yes, welcome. And what an interesting topic, an on-time topic.
It is an on-time topic. It is a growing subject, and there is a lot that people need to understand about the scope of the technology and getting, there's some cultural barrier, just people are very comfortable with the way energy is today. And there is a learning curve and an adoption that people are going to have to transition through. And part of the reasons I write and communicate is somewhat to help them feel more comfortable with what is ahead in renewable energy.
Wow.
So, first question, how soon will we be impacted by these changes?
We are partially impacted now. I would say the electric vehicle is going to be the first major impact, and it is still in a very early adoption stage. In time frame, I would say probably mainstream, pragmatic, everybody is using it 25 years. I would say you have a substantial amount of the technology has to be a little bit more friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, in renewables, it does require a substantial amount of expertise. You are dealing with basically a micro power plant. So you have to have fairly good knowledge with equipment and working around high voltage and power, versus as we move forward, they will get it more and more like appliance-like. So like you would really be able to buy stuff off the shelf and take it home and use it. Right now, it is not that easy, and it is not trivial stuff. It's high power, and it is it has it has risk, and it has danger, and it has cost. And if you make mistakes with electrical devices, they blow up and you have to buy new ones. So there's a lot going on. But I would say realistically, very, very comfortable, ease of use. You're probably, and mainstream, I would say probably at least 15 to 20 years at this point.
Okay, so this sounds like something that we've never seen before. Can you paint a picture for us of what, let's say, inside the house? Let's go into the kitchen.
Okay, that is actually the very first place you start. And we innovated a solar array, and we began to research this, and we had a battery. So we would use our solar, and then the battery we would fill up with electricity. Well, come to find out, if you were not monitoring your system, if you didn't have feedback, your battery would go dead. You would have dead spots in your electrical use. So the very first device that will be in a solar home will be a microprocessor and a display. So in your microprocessor and your display, you're going to know how and when you use electricity, what device consumes the most electricity. You're also going to know when your best solar is, okay? And then you will have how full your battery is. So you will have a smart home. So the second part of the smart home was that we very rapidly learned that you had to connect to other devices. And we called them a diversion load or a switching, which what that meant was when the sun was out and we had a lot of solar, we had an auto switch that turned on the air conditioning. So the system made a decision and switched on devices that when peak solar was available and there was a lot of energy available, we matched the solar output to the device that needed energy. And when you go through that whole scope, in the future, you were going to have a microprocessor, and you're going to relate to when you use certain devices. So you could set your laundry up, and you could literally even control your hot water heater and say, don't turn on the hot water heater till 10 o'clock, then start the laundry, or don't start the dryer until 4 o'clock when we have the most electricity. And that would be sort of the first scope, is that you would have a computer that feeds back all the information you need to control your energy. And
sounds a little sci-fi.
It is ahead of time. Now, this technology is available, and it is in really with what you call the tinkerers and the innovators and all those guys that are out there. The off-gridders do some of this stuff,
Okay.
and they do it. They may not do it with a microprocessor. They do it by rule of thumb. They know when to take hot water, when to watch TV, or when to run heat.
Right.
But it is that component of it, I would say, is in the future of all people on Earth using electricity. You're going to have a system to understand how to manage your energy.
So it's going to be, basically, we can say it's going to be solar energy, and we have to learn how to manage it.
Solar will be one component.
Mm-hmm.
Solar is very strong in certain latitudes. The closer you get to the equator, the better solar works. Now, in northern latitudes, they may not have as good a solar. So what you would end up with is you would probably transport by train batteries full of energy to the northern hemispheres. They would still utilize solar, but the solar array would not necessarily be right next to them. And that is one thing people need to understand. That's basically what we're doing today. And a lot of people don't realize how much we transport energy. 40% of our coal comes from Wyoming. So you guys are in Pennsylvania or Tennessee or Maryland or wherever. They ship long trains full of energy coal a couple thousand miles every day, every week. It moves across our country. We can do the same thing with solar, basically.
Wow.
That's fascinating.
It is. And, I come to this, people don't articulate. The message is fairly new. It is. Most of the guys that are into this don't. They still are in the technology field, engineering, and I'm sort of an everyday person, and I'm really moving to try to at least start the conversation so people get prepared.
Yes, and I think that's very important because I'm a computer person, and I understand there are people that work on the computer that don't have a clue
Yeah,
about what's going on, and as soon as something doesn't perform, then they are in a panic mode and
yeah.
the whole 9 yards. So, with that said, is this technology going to be, like you said, friendly? Because there's going to be people that's just not ever going to get it.
Well, yeah, I would say the second part of the scenario that probably would make it very friendly is if you had a car that's electric car, it's a large battery. And sort of the next phase is what is called bidirectional, where you could store the energy in your car and you can simply plug it into your home and power your home.
Wow.
So people that are not really that technologically adept and really do not want to fiddle with this, yes, there are alternatives that are going to be very simple. And those are good questions. And that's really what the discussion needs to be about. And I would say if I gather up myself, I want to focus towards people's utilizing this technology. But it's coming, and they know it. I would say from being inside, they're aware of it. How fast the establishment and the whole industry wants to move, that'd be another question.
Wow.
So is that part of the reason why I know we have electric cars, and yet I'm seeing more and more real estate being devoted to refueling stations for electric cars, because the industry is moving that fast. I know we had one here in Columbia that was not used for almost a year. They were busy building it. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's still not that well used, but there are cars now using it. So are we going to see more of that type of thing? What is our world going to look like? That change.
Yeah, that is, they are in comparative numbers, there are a small number of electric vehicles. There are 300 million gas powered vehicles in the United States, maybe a million electric vehicles. So you are seeing sort of the cart before the horse in that respect. But yes, you will see more charging stations. But now another advantage of the electric vehicle is that you don't go to the refueling station, you charge at home. And me as a journalist, and as I always spoke and interviewed with people who dealt with electric vehicles, that was actually their number one positive thing that they said. They charge at home and they don't have to stop and get fuel. But the concept, one thing that I talk about as a future concept, you could have a solar station, a hub that was dedicated just to charging vehicles. So you would have solar, you would store the energy in the battery, and then the vehicle could come there and charge up. And we call that in the industry driving on sunshine. And, you could have so that future is coming. The numbers are not there in the electric vehicle business right now, though. It is still it's 1 out of every 300 cars. So
wow. Now my concern is safety, because I can tell, like, if I'm using my cell phone for a long period of time, it's really hot. So my thing with especially the electric cars,
Mhm.
They
you
have, yeah.
they what's the safety measures put into this?
In the large cars, they have a very robust fusing system. So they have a pyro fuse, or a fuse that if there's any shock to the car or anything goes on, it normally blows fuses. The incident of fires versus gasoline cars is still, it's a much smaller percentage. But the energy moving does produce heat. There is no doubt about it. So you have cooling systems that are involved still, motor cooling systems, and you have a fair amount of energy to move several thousand pounds down the road. So yes, you understand that. I mean, that's but you're moving a tank full of explosive gasoline down the road now as well, and your car is heating up to several hundred degrees. So that's kind of what it takes to move us around.
Yeah, I see. So if people want to learn more about this technology, how do they get in touch with you?
I have a website. It's same as my last name, Richard Flentge, RichardFlentge.com. I do blogs. I do small, like little mini documentaries, and then I have a book. And I wrote the book with the attitude of it's not all technical. It shows a little history of how we use the steam engine, what went on with some of all the way through the 70s oil crisis. And then I bring in my own personal stories, and then some of these future concepts. And I do have some very accurate writing to this niche of information.
Okay. And what's the name of your book?
It is called Verities of an Electric Mule.
Verities.
Verities of an Electric Mule.
Okay.
And right now it's self-published, and it's only on my author site. I've published several other books, but this one I just self-published.
Oh, okay.
I do have a question. We've started with the electric car. We have smart homes. We have electric vehicles that are on the rise. And Ida asked a question that made me think about the fact that one of the big things that are coming up are electric bicycles.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the problems that they have with that are some of the batteries that they explode. So where will they fit into all of this? I mean, it's like we're going to this whole new paradigm of what we call electric energy.
You're right. It's correct. With the case of the electric bikes, the reason that they catch fire, or most often anyhow, is actually overcharging. Most of the time, the device is hooked up on a battery charger, and there is some sort of a fault inside the battery, and they keep pouring energy into it. And that almost all of the fires happen with unmonitored devices that are charged overnight. Now, we had a rule in the shop that we didn't allow anything to be on a charger overnight. So there are safety protocols, and people, if they're careless, you are dealing with a lot of energy. So they can improve that, I believe. I mean, they could fuse it, and they can place timers on it, but plugging in devices that are sitting there running and not responsibly monitoring them I mean, it can lead to some problems. So,
Okay, another question. When we talk about this, I don't know, maybe we won't have malls in the future, 25 years from now. How is that going to be powered by this new type of technology? I mean, large events, auditoriums, arenas, those kind of things. How are those things are going to be powered?
they have very, very large, what are called megapacks. So they do have batteries on a scale that you really, it's hard to imagine. So you would stage that. Now, in bringing up malls, which is another sort of interesting subject, in that in urban environments, especially when they have abated buildings or spare buildings in a lot of those areas, those structures actually would lend themselves very well to be converted to solar facilities. There is actually a lot of rooftops. There are a lot of parking lots. There is a lot of space right now where you could begin to put renewable energy and free energy, especially in an urban environment. It all would be consumed. There's a dense amount of population there. It would sort of revitalize the area, and it would give people in that area an industrious activity, being involved in the energy business. So,
okay, so if I heard you correctly, you're talking about, let's say, Baltimore, lots of vacant houses,
exactly.
buildings. Those would be turned into like energy centers. Did I hear you correctly?
Exactly. A solar hub. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
That's awesome. Now, they say now that when they look at the pyramids of Egypt, that they believe that they were energy sources in some ways. They don't know how. Is this kind of like the same thinking?
It would be, yeah. You have the angle of the sun, and as things go up into the sky, just like a tree grows, yes, you capture energy that way. And that would be, if you wanted to relate to a future concept, the pyramid is a very sound structure. It's not very easy to blow over, and it extends up into the sky. So you would have a very secure, stable structure to put solar panels on and to have energy. Now they also already have quite a few towers and things in place, and solar towers are actually sort of an advanced energy concept. But putting stuff up into the sky, into the sun, would capture more energy. That is a correct observation. Yes.
Yeah, because I see in my area, they have fields where they have like these windmills, or they have all of these panels, solar panels, like lined up, rows and rows and rows of them. So is that for providing energy to like that particular community?
Usually, yes. Yeah, it does not usually travel very far. One of the issues with electricity in the grid is the transportation. Wires have resistance, they travel over distance, it has losses. When you go to solar and things like you described, the energy does not have to transport as far. It goes directly, usually, into the grid. Now, an interesting side note, which is like if you live in a neighborhood and your neighbor has a bunch of solar panels, well, what happens is during the peak sunshine days, their solar panels put out more output than the house is going to take in. So it transfers out into the grid, and the other homes in that neighborhood are actually using the neighbor's solar panel.
Wow. Do they know that?
No, they do. And the utility company knows, and they bill you for it anyway. That is they give you a couple cents going out your meter, and then they go down the street and charge the guy 25 cents.
Oh, wow.
For everyone. So that is kind of an inside story for
I
people.
tell you, what we don't know is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's very vital, and something to the general economy of just people. Self-controlling our own energy sources is a tremendous wealth for the future. It will stabilize a tremendous amount of society. You have everybody has to pay a substantial amount of their income and make a lot of efforts for energy right now. When it becomes internal, it's going to change the dynamic of human living. So,
Now, my question to you, okay, if I get solar panels on my house, how is the electric company involved with that?
very much, and that is a very, very big question. Okay. They're not just happy-go-lucky that there's solar panels in their system. They have very serious concerns. One is, besides it being a competitor, is that if they go into a region and they have to work on lines and they shut off that region, there's a possibility that solar panels could backfeed, and then their workers could be exposed to live wires when they think the wires are shut off. So utility companies regulate very heavily, and they are very protective of their turf. So you have a lot. If you get solar panels, you will have some paperwork, and then you will have an inspection. And they have people that go out and they figure out if you're going to make it or not, and they check everything. But that is actually a bit of an obstacle and a barrier that we all have to work towards. We have to work with utility companies, but at the same time, we're going to have renewable energy. So.
Yes, and our next collaboration is going to be the bewares that we're going to have with you. So you
Yes.
definitely have to come back and talk about the stuff that we need to know to be safe with the new world
Absolutely.
that we're about to move into. For
That's
sure.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.